So if you don't know how to thread a needle, this might be a good time to learn how. You've got your thread and you've got a needle, and what you want to do is cut the thread off straight across so it doesn't have any stray hairs hanging off of it. So just, cut it straight across. It makes a nice blunt end, and you take the eye of the needle and just put it right up there and thread it through. So, and you cut off a workable length. I like to double it over and make it extra strong. It seems to be more durable. And so you double it over like that. You take the two ends together. I just like twist it around my finger and give it a little knot like that, So then what we're going to do is sew the two ends that are not sewn yet. The advantage of working this way with a napkin is that some of the work has already been done for you. So I'll get up close so you can see. So what I'm doing is I'm just catching the material like that. I'm going to do like an overhang stitch at first just to get it started. And then I'm just going to make, let's see, what's the best way to do this? I'll hold it this way so you can see. Then I'm going to stitch right along here. I can do a basting stitch because this is just, I'm learning how to do this along with you. This is a new thing for all of us. And as you're working, you can take the pin out so it's not in your way. I'm going to take big stitches like basting stitches. And pull it through like that. Can you see that? And then you just keep on until you're done with the whole side. What you're doing is just back and forth, up and down. I know a lot of people have probably never had to use a needle and thread, but it's not that hard to do if you just practice. So then you don't want to bunch it up like that. You want to stretch it out after you've sewn it. You stretch it out a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is turn the corner. Maybe at the corner you can just take a few extra stitches there too, just to hold the whole thing in place. Then you turn the corner, stitch down the other side. I'm getting this pin out of my way so it won't stick me. And so when you're done with that, I think I'm going to have to thread another needle. This one wasn't long enough. Trying to hold it so you can see what I'm doing. Like that. Get that needle out of the way. That pin out of the way, So then just keep stitching till I get to the end. If you run out of thread, then you can just thread another needle and keep going, which is what I'm going to have to do now. When you get to the end, you don't want to just leave it like that because the threads will come undone. So what you want to do is just make a little knot for yourself. Just a simple knot, just kind of like tangle it in the material so that it doesn't come loose. Like that. All right. That's enough for then I'll show you next time. Hi, welcome back to Susie's kitchen, Grandma Susie's kitchen. Okay, next step, I want to show you, we've got it hemmed all the way around. The face mask is hemmed all the way around. Two of the hems were already pre-existing because it was a napkin that I cut into 6 parts. Now, what we want to do is put the tie tapes on. Okay, so because it's not elastic, they didn't have any elastic in the stores. The elastic was sold out, so I just bought bias tape. Now what I'm going to do is take my measuring tape and cut a 9-inch piece, 9 inches. So I've done that already. And what I want to do is take and put it like this. I'll show you. Then I'm going to sew it on like that on the corner. This is going to be the tie that goes around your head, or in this case, it's going to go over the ears. You could tie it around your head, but then you'd have to have 2 ties, and that takes more work to sew on 2 ties. So I'm just going to make the one that fits over the ears. So sew it to the top like this. Okay, then once that's sewn, I'll just do some basic basting stitches because we're testing it now to make sure it's the right length and everything. Just learning how to do it as I go along. So, and tie that off so it doesn't. What you do is you take and make some knots in it so it doesn't come apart. That would be the worst thing if your mask came off your face while you were working. So make sure that's tied on really tight and sewn, sewn on. Make sure it's sewn on really tight. Then what I want to do is snip my thread. Then take this and put it around to the other side. Like this. Okay, so it's like this. See, they're kind of like wrapped around, and I'm sewing it like, I'll just show you. You just sew the end pieces on. Make sure it's really secure. It's like we're all in the same boat. Nobody needs to be scared of this virus. You just have to stay safe, that's all. And it protects your immune system. You can do different things, like, for instance, eat plenty of spinach and other green leafy vegetables. Get plenty of sunshine and exercise. Get enough sleep at night. And avoid stress. Stress is a very inflammatory thing. And don't eat sugar. Sugar is very inflammatory. If you can avoid the things that cause inflammation, you can help to boost your immune system. So here's one loop. You can see. I'm going to do the other loop and then I'll show you when I put it on my face. Okay. This is going to like go over like that. Go over the ear. And then the other loop will go over the other ear. Okay. Next time. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's sewn on both sides. Okay, and we could put it over our face. It would make a basic, functional mask, but there's another step we're going to take before the mask is finished, which is to put tucks in each side. When you take the tucks, you want to make sure they face in the same direction. And what that does is it adds a little bit of fullness, so it makes a room for your nose and gives you some room to breathe underneath the mask. But you could actually use this as a mask right now. You probably have to shorten the strings a little bit, but you could use it as a mask if you wanted to. But I'll show you how to put the tucks in. Okay, I learned this from an instruction on the internet, so of course this is new to me too. So you take one side. Tucks mean that you're gonna like fold it over, fold it over, fold it over like that. Those are called tucks. So I'm just gonna take 3 tucks. I think what I'll do is pin them. As I said before, it makes it easier to sew if you've got your work pinned. Then all you have to think about is just sewing the line of the line. You don't have to think about holding the whole thing in place as you're working. So if you just put some pins in, kind of like this, you make a tuck and you put the pin in. Tucks are used on women's clothing too, to add a little bit of fullness when it's needed. Probably used on men's clothing for all I know, but especially on women's clothing in the shoulder area. You know, sometimes they'll put tucks to keep it nice and curvy looking. So anyway, here's 3 tucks on this side. And I'll hold it up close to the camera so you can see. Those are tucks. On the back it looks like this. When it fits on your face, it's going to get that kind of fullness there. So I'll go ahead and sew this line, and then I'll do the other one, sew it, and then I'll show it to you. Okay, bye. So what I did was I finished sewing the tucks on one side. This is the side that you see. And then on the other side, I've got it pinned where I'm going to sew it, but I wanted to show you how the pins are. Then what you can do is you sew right along here. It's better to reinforce the sewing right where the tuck is, you know. That's where most of the tension is, and that's where you really have to hold it together. Then you can just do a slip stitch or, you know, overhand stitch or something in between. But the most important place to sew is right where the tuck is, right in here. So I'm just going to slip it on and try it on, see if it works. Yeah, it works fine. You know, I'm going to finish up. And I think maybe this one is a little too long. So I'm going to take a tuck here, like shorten this string and shorten this one here so it fits me perfectly. You know, it will be just, because it's not elastic, I have to shorten that a little bit. I can just double it over. I take a few stitches here, and that will make it shorter on both sides. So when you check your temperature, if it's anything over 100.5, you should probably go to the clinic and get tested. In Rhode Island, you have to make an appointment. And if you make an appointment with CVS.com, they will give you a test the results are in 15 minutes. But if you have a child who needs to be tested, you have to go through the state. You can call 211 and find out where the test sites are at CCRI, RIC, which is Rhode Island College, and URI. It's the CCRI that's over by the malls in Warwick. That's the one that's doing the testing. But you have to get an appointment first, and then you can show up at your appointment time and get the test. It's basically a drive-through thing where you're not really exposed to anybody, and the tester is not exposed to you, and they're going to be wearing a mask anyway. And in that case, it takes a few days for the results to come back. But if you have a child, your child is going to need to get tested at that site. CVS is testing adults, anyone with symptoms. So how do you know if you've got symptoms? Well, anything over 100.4. We were taught in nursing school that viral infections can be up to 101. Bacterial infections are higher than 101, but that's just a general rule, Fahrenheit. Or if you have fever, chills, there's lots of things that you could have conjunctivitis, like red, pink eye, you know. There's really no constellation of symptoms that is isolated as being just coronavirus symptoms. It could be a viral infection. It could be a bacterial infection. But it's good to get tested and find out. Then if you are tested, you need to self-isolate. You have to stay home. Or if you need to go to the hospital, of course, go to the hospital. Most people get well without any interventions. It's just like a bad cold for most of us, maybe 80%. Of the 20% who go to the hospital, very few have to be on the respirator. Usually people with a compromised immune system are the ones. So, but it's important, stay inside, stay away from people. If you have to go out, keep 6 feet apart from people and wear your face mask, you know, please. Stay safe, everybody. Be well. Until next time, it's Grandma Susie. Bye.